Greetings everyone, this is Mike Wright, the Astro Sherpa, dropping in with a spatial report, January 30th. Wow, 2024. And I'm going to show you the peak moment of the king, the sun, right at high noon. So we're going to show you this happen in real time right here. Just watch this with me. So I'm looking due south, and when that shadow lines up perfectly straight with me, we will know it's at peak noon. So this is how sundials worked. So we're about there. If I look at that sun, it is now behind a few little clouds, but that is right on the peak moment, what's called the meridian, and then we go into the post meridian from AM to PM. So this shadow will start to slide its way this way as the sun goes in its arc that way. So that's how we measure the arc of time and convert it into this big circle, time-space. So time-space is how we measure change, and we look at each of these planets' degree or position as a coordinate. And then these coordinates make coordination points with other points, planets, things. So we look at angles through geometry, geo meaning of the earth, and we put the earth right there in the center. And we have the sun going around, and that sun goes this way. But you'll notice the houses are numbered from 1, 2, 3, 4, and they go in this direction back to 12. So that's the precession of houses, or how we feel in each area of life. So the first 3 sections, 1, 2, 3, usually measured by Aries, Taurus, Gemini. That's the first section. That would be spring. This is new fire, new directions, learning power, and learning knowledge, community. And then we go into the summer solstice, Cancer, Leo, Virgo. That's another third of the wheel. Okay, so we go from, that's when the summer solstice happens, and then we enter the fall season. So the sun, which is exalted in Aries, is in detriment, meaning it loses power, we lose light. And then that continues all the way up here till Capricorn season, and we have the winter solstice point. And that's when we start getting more daylight. So look at that sun right there. So now, as I look at these shadows, that is exactly, from my point of view, right here, due south, Richmond, that is high noon. Right there. So you've got to experience the peak moment of the solar power in this world right there. So we look at angles, in circles, arcs, and that's how we can measure change. What's changed? How much has changed? So these bigger cycles, like Saturn was considered the last visible planet, so it had the greatest arc. And we look at that, we can go up here at the really, really big Look at the big picture here. So my reflection's hooking this up, but when we look at from a really big point of view, we can see ourselves from this 6th dimension view. So right now we can look at this wheel of time is constrained inside this circle. So each planet had a Mercury having the tightest influence right here. But if you notice, that circle isn't perfectly circular with the sun in the center. Mercury has this odd, orbit. So at some points right here in the lower section, it's really close to the sun. So our mind gets burned up. So the next planet inside the Earth was Venus. And that's why we see Venus as the reflection of the sun's power in this seesaw fashion, with Venus as a morning star or Venus as an evening star. And then Mars was outside of the Earth's orbit, so that's a bigger sphere of influence. And now we have to look outside of our body for others. Mars was warfare. So as we get bigger and bigger, we zoom out of this grand universal wheel, you will see Jupiter's orbit. So Jupiter was even bigger. So Jupiter at one time thought it was God, El, the one. It couldn't see that Saturn, its father, was outside of its orbit. And Saturn was the biggest crown. And Saturn was known as the mother because it mothered or gave birth to Jupiter. And guess what? Jupiter was hidden away from Saturn because Saturn ate Pluto and a bunch of its other children. Uranus, next, that was Saturn's father. And Saturn literally chopped off Uranus's, private parts, probably its moons, and that's literally sent Uranus's orbit into this crazy kind of eccentric sphere. So Uranus is this rebel. Some people might call it Prometheus, forethought. So this is this bigger picture we look at. And Pluto was downgraded as a planet back in like 2005, but Pluto has this massive orbit that goes way underneath this normal plane. And so if we look, Pluto is now back in the underworld. Let's get a good shot here. So it crossed the galactic center, in that big conjunction moment when Jupiter and Saturn and the Sun and Mercury were all back there in Capricorn. So that was this huge transformation moment. So we're seeing Pluto now leaving the Capricorn sector for good. The Earth will see a reflection of that light come September back in the Capricorn sphere of influence, but for about 3 months. But that's just to pick up the stragglers. So the new Earth is going to be, let me see if I can get a good angle here. Sorry about this reflection, but that's what we're dealing with. So we go in here to the Earth, and when we look at this galactic plane, let me get a good shot here. Okay. So keep spinning around. Okay, so Neptune is in Pisces. So this quadrant right here, Saturn, was considered this last section of time-space. So when Saturn will cross over this point, Neptune will already have made it past that point. So from the Earth's point of view, we will see these two conjunct right at the 0 point of Aries. So this is that spring equinox point. We see, you know, this constellation out here. Right on the spring, we do a measurement, and that's how we know the age. So this is slowly leaving the Piscean age, and this Neptune, last Neptune cycle with Saturn will be the last 100 years of the shadow age of Pisces and the new age of Aquarius. So that's this big picture we're looking at, folks. So when you use the smaller wheel, you can see and correlate to the bigger wheel, bigger picture. So let's turn this around. And we use these coordinates, like I said, angles, and when you get a 90-degree angle, light literally reflects harsh at 90 degrees. But when light comes in and hits a curved sphere, hopefully you guys might be able to see this, the light is reflected from solid white light into many different spectrums of color. Infrared being the densest, lower earth penetrating colors, ultraviolet light being the purples, you know, that destroy microorganisms. So when we use the understanding of the arc of time and think about the earth literally rotating, because the sun's magnetic energy hits our energy field and it creates this counterclockwise spinning motion. So, and this is in a measured time, because the earth is a huge electromagnetic ball generator. Guess what? Nikola Tesla knew this because he got the information from the rediscovery of the information in Egypt on the pyramidal walls. So all these old power companies hid all these knowledges about how they generated power, direct current, alternating current. So there was advantages to both, but alternating current literally recharges everything in the circuit constantly. So you're constantly renewed by any new energy entering in continuity in a circuit. So when you are in continuity with the Earth's electromagnetic field, you are charged by that. So you get power, energy. But if you are polarized, one side or the other, or lower or upper, all spiritual, and you're not grounded, then you lose connection. You lose the feed. If you're not getting the feed, you don't see the image. You don't feel the power. So that sun, which we witnessed, literally peak power of the projection. So that sun is the only source of power everyone on this earth has. One. So all cultures knew this from all of time, but they looked at the moon as a reflector of this image. So some people worship the moon because it was closer. And that was a feminine earth culture because they saw the water change. The tides come and go with the phases of the moon. So the water in your body literally comes and goes. So right now, this reflective energy on this moon cycle is disseminating. So the moisture and heat reflected off of that full moon is now starting to settle down. So we can feel and reflect what has changed, what we got energized with. So this last moment of Venus, Mars, and Mercury on the mountain of Capricorn is looking at the year ahead as you mastering your physical, the emotions, the water, and then the air, mental, fire, passion, and thinking, and using discernment and control to master yourself in the wheel, time, space. Here. So, by following patterns and understanding and training yourself, training your attention onto those three aspects. So each physical, emotional, and mental also breaks down into three aspects. So you have to look at those things and keep growing your awareness. So this awakening consciousness of your mental thinking, left brain, linear, logic, I have to be somewhere, I have to do this. This is the lower pattern you were trained from as a child to now. So Mercury, the new Mercury, when it gets past Pluto, and then Mars and Venus, these make it past Pluto, the Hades, the god of the underworld, meaning the archetype of 1/3, Pluto, Jupiter, and Neptune. Those overcame Saturn in these old stories in dominance. And they split up this wheel here into three elements. The earth was split up into air, water, and fire. So Jupiter's the fire, Neptune's the water, and Pluto's the air, through the fire. Okay? So Pluto rules Scorpio because of the obsessive feminine nature. Pluto stole the most beautiful girl, Persephone, and yanked her into the underworld because he was obsessed with the beauty. And then the whole earth got punished for that. So these are old memories we have to absolve ourselves from and clear out. And realize that this new time space, all Aquarius, and what's wild, if you think about Aquarius, those symbols, that's energy transmitted through the air, can be through water, it's electrical current, it can be DNA strands, just strands of information, how we transmit and broadcast information. So as I update the wheel, let's do this little refresher, you will see now the sun has made it past the MC, midheaven, and is now in what we call the 9th house. And this is, the house of Sagittarius. So it's a Jupiterian learning, growing, expanding your knowledge, breaking past old belief structures and seeing the higher dimensions, higher planes, expanding your viewpoint outwards, upwards, tuning in, tuning up. Any way you go, I hope you find your light. And don't fear the dark. Learn the balance. Any way you go, I hope you're well. Astro Sherpa out.